Hey guys, like here, quick video to show you how to do rear brakes and rotors on a 2017 Nissan Murano, and this should work 15 to 18 models, and honestly most Nissan Muranos and many other SUVs. Before I get started, let me just show you what you guys are gonna need. So obviously you need a new rotor. You can get a set of all 4 rotors and brakes for your car for about $130 to $160 online. So look around on eBay, on Amazon, you can find great deals. This is slotted and zinc plated, so it was a little pricier, maybe $170 for the whole set. Came with the pads, the clips. You're also going to need a brake cleaner. We're going to use that to clean off the dirt of the old setup and also clean off any oils of this. You're going to need a 19mm wrench as well as a socket. I'll show you why you need a wrench, because you won't be able to access one spot with this in the back, and a 14mm as well. Flathead screwdriver, lubricant grease for the brake pads, some brushes, probably a breaker bar, and a torque wrench, obviously gloves, rag, hammer, stuff like that. So let's get started, get the wheel off, and show you guys the process. When you jack up your car, make sure you have a safety jack stand as well. Don't depend on your jack alone. Put something under there to, just to be safe, guys. Here's what the rear looks like. As you see, it's time to change. You can see the pads are pretty thin. We're gonna, in this car, the rear, you have to take the whole assembly off at once, including the bracket and the caliper housing. You can't take this part out first, then this, because the bolt down here, you won't be able to remove because of this arm here. The bolt, even if you unscrew it, it's going to be hidden this, and we can't take it out all the way, so we have to remove the bolts. Let me show you guys the screws that I'm talking about. Right in here. That's really hard to get to, so I'm gonna have to do that with the regular wrench. And then here's the top, which we can use a socket as well as this one. So we're gonna remove this whole assembly, and then we'll be able to get into this and the pads. So for the top, breaker bar should work just fine. One tip is, anytime you're working on your brakes and you're pushing the wrench down, never hold the knuckle form, because let's say you wrenching something down and you slip, your knuckle's going into the ground, you're getting caught. Always have an open palm, so when you're pushing down, your palm will slap the ground. Just a tip from experience, guys. I'm gonna remove this top bolt here. Not going all the way because I got to get the bottom. And like I said, for the bottom, we're going little by little with this guy. So, and it's gonna, in this case, we can't use a breaker bar because it's not gonna get in there, so we're using a wrench. And that's gonna take some time. So I'll get that loose and I'll show you guys the next step. So just to show you guys what we're doing here, as I'm still playing with it, this is where this is. Here's this arm. You're not getting anything in there. That's why you have to use a regular old school wrench. So once we do that, I'm gonna loosen up these two guys. This one and this one also with a little wrench, 14, and then we take this whole assembly out. So before I remove the 2 big bolts, I am going to loosen up those caliper bolts, so it's easier to remove this once I have the whole assembly off. So I'm not pulling them out completely, I just want to get them unthreaded. You might need a breaker bar here as well, or a hammer on this bottom section, because you can't get the wrench in here, socket in here either. So I'm using one of these. If you have a ratchet and wrench like this, it's great for the bottom. I didn't, so that's why I'm doing these half turns. So wasn't gonna make you guys watch 5 minutes of me unbolting that. And now I'm gonna get these big ones off. Now we get the whole assembly out. There's the 2 bolts. This will just pull off the rotor. So here's what we're working with. So now we can pull this out, and get this assembly out. This we can leave up here. We're gonna have to compress this piston, as we didn't do it at the beginning. So I'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit. We can get all, just so you know, the clip was on the back where the piston rods are here. So remember that part. And then the regular brake pad was here. Pop this out. We're gonna take our old rotor off. That should just slide off. Remember, you're doing the rear, don't have your e-brake on. If it does, like this slides off, but if it doesn't for some reason, tap it with your hammer all around and it should come out. If not, you can rent from AutoZone actual tool that pops this out. We're gonna pop this out, inspect it, make sure everything looks good here, which it does. Save this little rubber gasket. We gotta reinstall it on the new rotor. This is the access to the this adjuster here, which adjusts your e-brake with the rotors. We're not gonna mess with that, as e-brake hasn't really been used on this car, so it's pretty much where it should be. So we're gonna save that. I'm just gonna pop that out. We'll put it in the new rotor. Before I reinstall anything, I want to get any dust off, but it actually looks pretty good here, so that's a plus. I'm gonna clean off any oil of this brand new rotor with some brake cleaner, which dries pretty fast. On the other side, now we can pop that on. Make sure you put in the boot where the adjuster is. Okay, now we can work on this assembly here. Clean that up, grease it, get our new pads and clips on. So we're gonna pop these old clips off. If you don't have new clips with your pads, clean them up and save them. Use a brush. But since we have clips, I can just toss them. Get your metal brush. I'm gonna hit it with some brake clean as well. Inspect your boots for the guide pins. Make sure there's no cracks in them. We are gonna lubricate these guys with the brake grease. So I'm not installing them yet. First we're gonna get the clips in, so you grease all this up in here as well. Any connections you have with the pads and the pins, you gotta grease it up. That's gonna prevent squeaking. That's where you hear the squeaking whenever you hear cars driving by. It wasn't installed properly, or not enough grease, or no grease was used. Now we're gonna pop the new clips in, and before I do, I'm gonna grease them up on both sides as well. That just pops right in. just like that. That tab is on top. This goes in here all flush. To the other side. Okay. Once we get your clips on, we want to prep this guy. Same thing, we're gonna brush off any dust in here on both sides. Now we gotta compress this. So the trick to do this, you need a C-clamp if you don't have the actual tool for this. There is a caliper compression tool. It's not a necessity. We're gonna take our old pad, put it right here, get the C-clamp around it. And just compress it all the way down. Make sure you go all the way down because the pads are gonna be needing all that space to go around the rotor. So that's as flush as it goes. I'm gonna grease that up as well in here. And on the inside where the other pads are gonna go. All right, we got this ready. Now we have to assemble the pads on here before we pop it in there. This is complete opposite of doing any other car, guys, but I'm happy to show you. So remember, the one with the clip was going on the back here. So I am gonna throw some grease on the tips here as well. And also on the back here. And then just pop it in. Got one in. Just don't get any grease on the pad itself. You don't want that connecting with the rotor. Alrighty. So now we can line this up here. Make sure your boots for the guides are in place and not crushed. We're gonna get our guide pins. Just gonna gently tighten it, not all the way right now. Same the other one. And now separate this as much as you can. I'm gonna use a wrench to space it out. And now we just slide this on to the rotor. And as you see, I depressed the piston, so I got space to get on there now. And we are good. Now I'm gonna grab a big bolt on the back here. Get that on. Get the bottom one. First I'm going to tighten each one a little bit so nothing's too loose. And get in there, I got to use the regular wrench. And now the bottom one. So give me about 5 minutes. I'll get the bottom one done and then I'll show you the rest of the steps and the torque you need for each one. All right, so we got everything hand tightened. I'm not gonna get my torque wrench back here and back here. So these I'm just gonna give it tight with hand and then like a quarter turn with the hammer to get approximate 30 32 foot-pounds on the small bolts on the caliper assembly, and the knuckle to the knuckle bolts, those are 62. So same with that one. I'm just gonna get my wrench on it and just give it a tap with the, and that's it for that one. Up here I can actually torque it correctly. So the big bolt, we're going 62 foot-pounds. Okay, and then on the little one we're going 32 on the caliper. So drop that. All right. That's it. Make sure you close your brake reservoir cover, give it a pump, make sure everything's nice and tight, get your wheel back on, and when you torque this down, your lug nuts, you torquing it down to 83 foot-pounds. That's what the lug nuts for this car torqued down to. None of that was in the manual except the lug nuts and your oil drain plug, which is 25 foot-pounds. But for the caliper assembly specs, I had to do some research to find that. Guys, I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Check out my video for the front brakes of the for this car as well, and I have a lot of other great videos that I think can help you. Please give me a thumbs up. Please follow, subscribe. Thank you.